Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Cornwell 113 for Cornwell Barbecue Sauce. I am your host, Chris, and we will be watching some great racing tonight in the chase for the playoffs. Looking at the starting grid, we've got Dustin Coggin, Mason Wagaman, Randy Cornwell, Tim Abrell, Timothy Presley, Dalton Wilson, Drayton Cook, Noah Walters, Jeremiah Growell, Nicholas Anderson, Chris Baines, Joseph Havet, Tate Lupret, Bobby Bender, and Ethan Farr. And we're coming to the green. Following the race, Dustin Coggin has a short lead. They're spanning out 3 wide. Dustin Coggin with Tim Abrell. Tim Abrell's been super aggressive this season. Coming in through the season, he's not in the chase, but I expect him to be there in season 2. On his outside, Mason Wagaman trying to make something happen with that outside line. Las Vegas running 2 lines, being super competitive. Not quite as many lines as Kansas, but still fast racing. These guys are hammered down with these cars going around the track. Dustin Coggin getting a comfortable lead for the time being. 3-car of Timothy Abrell trailing close behind with his teammate, Mason Wagaman. Now as you're watching, you'll see these guys kind of side draft, try to get some type of advantage over each other. And those teammates with Cornwell, they're all right next to each other, chasing down Dustin Coggin. It seems like that's the case every race, because those guys kind of have their cars dialed in. Timothy Presley on the outside in the 44. With Tim Abrell, Mason Wagaman running close behind. Dustin Coggin seems to have a good grip on this place. We're going to see how the tires wear as the race goes along, and see if those 4 Cornwell barbecue trucks can catch up to him. Good stint stepping it out for Dustin Coggin. There's 0.3 of a second on Tim Abrell. Is extending it every time they go into the corners. The question being, can he keep it up? Looking through the field, going back to Tim Abrell, Mason Wagaman 3rd. Timothy Presley 4th. Randy Cornwell in 5th. Drayton Cook in 6th. Chris Baines. Chris Baines had a heartbreak last week. We talked about it all race at Kansas. This 80 car, he was running well within the chase playoffs, with Randy Cornwell having to finish strong in order to beat him. And man, I might have jinxed it, but Chris Baines mid-race had an issue with his shifter. Ended up spinning out and gave Cornwell just enough to eke by and continue in the chase. Behind them is Jeremiah Growell, racing that 14 Zaxby's truck. Back to the lead, Dustin Coggin starting to trail off. And you see Timothy Abrell slowly reeling him in. Followed by his teammate, Mason Wagaman. And his other teammate, Drayton Cook. Oh, we got some action. Tim Presley up in the wall. and he is dropping fast. Going into these corners, you can only keep it flat out for so long before your tires start to wear and you don't have the grip. iRacing simulating the real life situations and real life textures of this track with how they would affect the tires. I'd imagine Timothy Abrell might have gotten in a little bit too hot, not realized his tires were starting to wear and got loose, got in the wall. Things might be happening up here at the lead. Timothy Abrell slowly reeling in Dustin Coggin. The gap between them, 2/10 now. Dustin Coggin seems to have it going out of the turn. He's got good drive off. Entering the turn, he probably has to back it off a little bit. That gives Timothy Abrell a chance to kind of catch up to him. But coming out of the turn toward the end of the stretch, Dustin Coggin steps it out a little bit. Back up to 4/10. Been back in the field. Got some passing going on. This is P9. Nicholas Anderson passing Dalton Wilson. Using that high line to his advantage. Coming out of the high line, you get almost a drive off and you start pulling on people. Dalton Wilson was with today's premier sponsor on his hood, Cornwell Barbecue Sauce. Ooh, Dalton Wilson really putting some pressure on Nicholas Anderson. Jeremiah Grell following closely behind Randy Cornwell, the last guy in the playoffs. Trying to secure his spot in the top 4 coming up. Jeremiah Grell looking for the inside. Can't quite get there. Nicholas Anderson putting some distance between him and Noah Walters. But up at the front, your leader is Dustin Coggin. 0.6 of a second on Timothy Abrell. It doesn't seem like his tires are wearing out anytime soon. I wonder if he's kind of playing with them. As soon as he sees that 3 car get a little bit closer in his mirror, he starts running away with it. These 3 cars, all teammates. You know, they're in the back 12th and notes. All running well, top 5. And that seemed to have been kind of the story for these playoffs. You got Timothy Abrell, who's kind of the upset, running up front. Jason Wagaman and Randy Cornwell both making the chase, but Timothy Abrell really putting pressure on these leaders and the different chase.
Caution, yellow flags.
See Wagaman trying to put pressure on Timothy Abrell. He wants that second position. The man on the moon move today is Chris Baines, up 6 positions from his starting spot, running in 6th. As well as Drayton Cook, up 5. Back here, switching positions for 9th and 10th. It's Dalton Wilson and Jeremiah Grau. And we got a caution. Let's see what happened. It seems to be a full course caution. Oh, nope. That looks like the 14 of Jeremiah Grau having some issues. See if we can figure out what happened here. I know they had some close racing together, him and Chris Baines. Looks like Noah Walters. No? Well, let's take you back live. We'll try to go back to that and see what happened. After pits, leaderboard almost stays the same. Dustin Coggin coming out on top. Mason Wagaman passing Timothy Abreu, followed by Drayton Cook, Chris Baines, Timothy Presley, Dalton Wilson, Tate Lupret, Nicholas Anderson, Bobby Bender, Jeremiah Grau, Joseph Hebert, Noah Walters, and Randy Cornwell. I apologize for that malfunction, guys. I will try to figure out what happened during that caution. It looks like the 14 of Jeremiah Grau might have taken a spin, but whether it be off the nose of somebody or on his own, I don't know. The pace lights are off, and we are coming to the green. Green flag is out, and we're at the restart zone. Dustin Coggin gets a great kick off the start, followed by Timothy Abreu, who's going to fall back into second. Mason Wagaman falling in line, followed by Chris Baines, coming up 8 spots from his starting position. And they're all single file, first through 6, double file on back. Timothy Abreu coming for the lead. Dustin Coggin with a great fire off, but could not keep the lead as Mason Wagaman follows Timothy Abreu. Teammates running 1-2. And Mason Wagaman can pass him. Chris Baines right there in 4th. Drayden Cook trailing right behind him, followed by Timothy Presley. Chris Bain's an absolute powerhouse, wanting to come back and prove himself after falling out of the chase last week. Trying to get that third spot. This is turning into a very draft-heavy race. Dustin Coggin now trying to take that low line. Timothy Presley up high, no drafting
Yellow
help, but
flag is
now on the
out.
front stretch she has it. Chris Bain's getting very close to Timothy Presley. And we have a caution. See what happened. Oh, it looks like Randy Cornwell getting into it with 22. Or no, the 27. Just a little nudge. And that might have been enough for caution. But back to live. Dustin Coggin first off pit row. Oh, not first off pit row. Dustin Coggin with a long pit stop. Timothy Abrell first off pit row. With Mason Wagaman, Timothy Presley, Chris Baines, Dalton Wilson, Jeremiah Growell, your top 6. Randy Cornwell pitting once more with some damage. Something had to have happened on that caution to him. Randy Cornwell with heavy damage and dropped 10 spots prior to that caution. Let's see if there's something that happened to him. You see heavy damage on the back of that car. Probably happened prior. Going back to live, we're back to racing. Here in the next lap. Caution lights out on the pace car coming around the backstretch. Timothy Abrell, Mason Wagaman on the outside. Timothy Presley pushing Tim Abrell.
Green, green, green.
Chris Baines on the outside with Mason Wagaman. Abrell gets a good jump, clears his teammate. Baines and Presley side by side. Baines really cutting it close next to Timothy Presley. Putting a lot of trust in those tires. Generally on cold tires, you don't want to be racing that close just because of how easy it is for the truck to slip and slide on the track. Until you build up some tire pressure, you don't have quite as much grip, and it's almost like driving on glass. If you've ever at home driven on black ice, it's kind of a similar feeling when you come around the turn. Come out of the turn, you put too much gas in it, you're around. Chris Baines gaining but has nowhere to go, goes up high. Mason Wagaman down low in front of Timothy Presley. Looks like the 14 of Jeremiah Grau right there behind him. He was a part of the first caution incident today. And he's running up there going for fourth. Chris Baines, too familiar of a sight for him, racing behind these two teammates. And he wants through, pushing Mason Wagaman down the front stretch. Jeremiah Grau taking advantage of that draft and going low on Chris Baines, getting third, going for second. Chris Baines gets a huge run off of that turn 2, but has nowhere to go with Mason Wagaman in front of him. 3 wide for second. Mason Wagaman, Jeremiah Grau, and Chris Baines all vying for that position. Mason Wagaman drops off. Now it's Chris Baines and Jeremiah Grau. Now Jeremiah Grau has the outside, but he has nowhere to go with Chris Baines on the inside. And he makes it work. Cuts across the nose of Chris Baines. On the inside of Timothy Abrell trying to go for the lead, and they all get back in line. Timothy Presley being aggressive with the back of Chris Baines' car. Presley and Baines duking it out for third. Ooh, little wobble out of Timothy Presley. That's what I'm saying. Be careful racing that close. That could have been much worse had Chris Baines decided to go lower. Timothy Presley up the track, down the track, trying to find a groove that works. Timothy Abrell leads him almost single file coming down the front stretch. Into turn 2, Jeremiah Grau wants the lead, but Timothy Abrell is there. Does not want to give him an inch. Ooh. Little scrape on the outside wall as Jeremiah Grau comes out of turn 2. Turn 3 there, fanned out. Guys ducking, diving, trying to figure out which line's going to get him the next position. Timothy Presley leading a small group of cars. Dustin Coggin making a comeback. He's on the inside for 6. But he is the lone one out of that line. He's got to use the draft if he wants to get back up to the lead. Dustin Coggin getting side drafted by Dalton Wilson. And they are all in line on the straights, but they fan out into the turn. Nobody really getting an edge on one another. Just trying to use the draft to their advantage. Timothy Presley using the draft to his advantage and jumping in front of Mason Wagaman. Mason Wagaman almost gets into him. Has to jump to the inside. Still trying to fight for that 4th position. Mason Wagaman comes on the inside. Ooh, and they get into each other going down the front stretch. The precision of these guys driving is great. Up at the lead, still close. 1, 2, 3. Timothy Abrell, Jeremiah Grau, and Chris Baines. Chris Baines now up 9 positions. Jeremiah Grau 8. Keeping equal distance. I'd imagine trying to save tires for this run. Back to the fight in mid-pack. Timothy Presley just not wanting to let go of the position for Dalton Wilson. A little loose on car control, gets into the wall. Dalton Wilson's going to take the position and slide up in front of him coming off of turn 4. Mason Wagaman sitting comfortably in 4th. No pressure from up front, no pressure from behind. Chris Baines wants that second position though. He's going to take Jeremiah Grau on the inside, but can't clear him. Jeremiah Grau's going to come back on the outside. Oh, Chris Baines gets into Jeremiah Grau, but they keep it together. Now Mason Wagaman's going to take advantage of them racing side by side, pulling each other back with the draft on their spoilers. But he can't make the pass. Meanwhile, Timothy Abrell's laughing it up, watching those cars get smaller in his rearview mirror as they try to fight for a different position. Now teammates in 3rd and 4th. Mason Wagaman and Drayton Cook fighting for that 3rd position. Mason Wagaman takes it high. And the high line's great if you have somewhere to go with it. Once you get up high, everybody is in the backstretch. They're all up high with you. So there really is nowhere to go, especially if you have the car to your inside. But Mason Wagaman with some clean air up until now, where Jeremiah Grau comes up high. And he has the quarter panel of Chris Baines. Chris Baines slides up in front of him. This is intense side-by-side racing, guys. And Mason Wagaman putting the bumper on Chris Baines going into turns 1 and 2. Gets the position on the inside, but Chris Baines hangs tough and thinks about the crossover, doesn't do it. Almost 3 wide heading into the turn. Drayton Cook right behind him trying to make it a 3 wide battle, but backs off. Meanwhile, Jeremiah Grau has started pulling away from this pack that's fighting so hard. He's trying to chase down Timothy Abrell. Randy Cornwell trying to fight back on the inside against the 44 Timothy Presley. He had issues earlier in the race and started coming back. Oh, Noah Walters had some type of issue. Oh, it might have been a connection issue. We stay green. Timothy Abrell leading the pack. He's now stepped it up to a half a second on Jeremiah Grell. Jeremiah Grell in the Zaxby's 14. Not quite able to make up any distance on him. Right behind him, Mason Wagaman. And then Chris Baines after a short break between them. Dustin Coggin right behind Chris Baines, and that's your top 5. Timothy Presley and Randy Cornwell going back and forth for 7th and 8th. Every point matters here. We're trying to stay in the chase and climb your way up to the final 4. Ooh. Cornwell or Timothy Presley trying to side draft him, gets into him a little bit. The 52 car, Tate Luprette right there waiting for a mistake to happen. Randy Cornwell has a little bit more car control than Timothy Presley. He's got his car a little bit loose. Tate Luprette bumper right behind Randy Cornwell. He tries to make it 3 wide. Can't, backs out. Timothy Presley, in that spot. Ooh, Randy Cornwell almost gets around trying to race Timothy Presley. That was a close call. But he gets back on track and he goes back to racing. The 50 car, Noah Walters putting the bumper to Randy Cornwell. I can't help to think that something might have happened to Randy's truck. And he's having aero issues with it. And that's causing him to kind of slow down, keep him from making a full charge back to the front. Back at the front, Timothy Abrell's a cushy 9/10 second lead, but he is in for pits. So first of green flag pit stops. Timothy Abrell followed by Mason Wagaman, his teammate. Both coming in. I'd expect a full 4 tires and full fuel. And those teammates are off pit row. Chris Baines next in for pit stops. And he's off. Pit row becoming very busy. Jeremiah Grell, Dustin Coggins, Dalton Wilson, Timothy Presley all taking their pit stops as well. Cycling around, that gives Tate Luprette the lead. But he has yet to pit. Along with Noah Walters, Randy Cornwell, and Bobby Bender and Drayton Cook all have not yet been to pit row. But they are coming. Timothy Abrell already passing Dayton. Already passing Dustin Coggin. Tate Luprette coming in for his scheduled pit stop. Randy Cornwell staying out, trying to lead a couple laps. But he's still running behind Noah Walters. Randy Cornwell, Bobby Bender still waiting on pits. Drayton Cook in and out. Timothy Presley in. It looks like he has some damage to his truck. It's going to be a while. Bobby Bender enters on 27. Bobby Bender's out. That leaves Noah Walters and Randy Cornwell. Guys like Jeremiah Grau, who were leading before, or in second or third, starting to get their laps back. I'd be worried if I were them. They're holding out for a caution. The difference between old tires and new, you saw right there how quickly the 20 car was able to get around the 50. And you see it. Noah Walters and Randy Cornwell still running on the track, hoping for that caution. That would kind of re-wreck the field. They'd be able to pit without losing too much time. Right now, holding the lead over Drayton Cook, 21 seconds. But that lead quickly dwindling. Randy Cornwell trails Noah Walters by half a second. 20 seconds back to the third car, Drayton Cook. Followed by Mason Wagaman, who's 23 seconds. Timothy Abro, who's 23.9. Randy Cornwell's the first one to bail on the plan. He's in. I imagine that's going to be a 4-tire pit stop with gas. So Noah Walters, the Lone Ranger out there, trying to make something happen, hoping for a caution still. Finally completing green flag pit stops. Noah Walters comes in. That's going to hand the lead over to Drayton Cook. Drayton Cook leading Mason Wagaman by a second. And Mason Wagaman quickly closing the gap. 1/10 of a second just through those turns. 2/10 through 3 and 4. Mason Wagaman's soon going to have this lead 6/10, 5/10, 4/10. Mason Wagaman closing on Drayton Cook. You can see that gap now down to 3/10 behind his teammate. Mason Wagaman behind Drayton Cook. Wondering if maybe Drayton Cook had stayed out that entire time. Mason Wagaman taking the inside line. And Mason Wagaman makes it to the lead. Drayton Cook falls in second. Behind them, Timothy Abrell, a full second. Earlier he was dominating this race. Let's see if he can make his way back. Dustin Coggin cycled out fourth. Jeremiah Grau fifth. Chris Bain sixth. Dalton Wilson seventh. Tate Luprette eighth. Bobby Bender ninth. A good showing for Bobby. And Randy Cornwell in 10th. Just wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to Randy Cornwell for sponsoring today's race. It is the Cornwell 113. And thanks to him, and go get him use some Cornwell barbecue sauce. I heard they have a bunch of flavors. Back up to Mason Wagaman. Now Drayton Cook trailing Mason Wagaman by 0.7 of a second. Drayton Cook doesn't seem to have as good of a truck as Mason Wagaman, but them being teammates running up front, you know, if I had teammates that would help me run second, I'd want them. Timothy Abrell closing the gap on Drayton Cook, trying to chase down Wagaman. Still a second and 0.3 behind. Watching as Mason Wagaman commanding this race now. Oh, Timothy Abrell ducks in the pit. It seemed like he had a problem with his car. It seems like they just came in. Wait and see if this is a gas and go. No, he's taking tires. He's back out. I wonder if he's pitting because he can make it to the end of the race from here. And Jeremiah Grau crashes into the outside wall and going into turn one. But no caution. Now we have a caution. Big hit for Jeremiah Grau. Wonder if he's going to be able to get back in it from here. See if we can see everything that happened. Jeremiah Grau just running on the front stretch. It looks like he blows a tire. Slams into the outside safer barrier. It would look like he has gone to pits since then. And that is bad news for Timothy Abrell, who just went in for pit. Now looks to be a lap down. And pit lane is getting busy. Mason Wagaman takes his pit stop. That's going to be 4 tires. Let's see who gets out first. Mason Wagaman makes it off first handily, followed by Drayton Cook, Chris Baines, Dalton Wilson, and Dustin Coggin. Folks, if you're tuning in, this is the Cornwell Barbecue Sauce 113, sponsored by Cornwell Barbecue Sauce. You can call Randy today. We got him up on screen with his number. But I'm looking to try some myself. Can't wait. And he ships. Now I'm wondering if Drayton Cook was on that alternate tire strategy where he stayed out and just tried to hold on until that caution. And he made it a heck of a long way. But now that him and his teammate are on equal tires, we can see if he's got something for him. And coming back into the picture, Chris Baines. And that 88 AC Delco car, throwback to Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Busch Series days, now Xfinity Series days. Beautiful paint scheme. We got Dalton Wilson in the 20. And Dustin Coggin still running top 5. We'll see who comes out on this. Mason Wagaman leading them. Lights on the pace car are off as they come around turn 3 and 4. The story today is going to be the story of Chris Baines and Mason Wagaman. Those would be my two to watch along with Dustin Coggin. But don't count out that 27 of Bobby Bender. He's been hanging in there tough. Mason Wagaman gets a jump on start, as we've seen from that inside line a lot tonight. Chris Baines jumps out to second in front of Drayton Cook. Dalton Wilson following behind him. Well, this is where you make your bread and butter, is on these restarts. Once you get a restart, you can pick up 2 or 3 spots in a lap before the tires warm up. After that, you kind of have to do this hard racing that you're seeing. As Chris Baines goes low, Mason Wagaman cuts him off, chops the nose. Oh, Chris Baines in the wall, but he bounces back, gets on the inside lane. Can he hold it down there and keep it out of Mason Wagaman? He does. Impressive driving. Chris Baines holding tough, trying to side draft Mason Wagaman, gets some type of edge on him. Mason Wagaman holding on the outside. Chris Baines slides up. Mason Wagaman all over Chris Baines' bumper. All the way down the stretch, right on his bumper. Mason Wagaman takes the high side. Chris Baines pulls out on that inside line. Mason Wagaman should have kept it up high. That way he got a better runoff than Chris Baines, but he decides to go low, block his teammate, Drayton Cook. Dustin Coggin pulls into the picture, putting pressure on Mason Wagaman and fighting Drayton Cook for the 3rd spot. This is some close racing up here, guys. Dustin Coggin holding tough on that inside line. As the field spreads out. But this has been the story of the day. These 3, Mason Wagaman, Chris Baines, and Dustin Coggin. Drayton Cook hanging in tough. He wants to win the Cornwell Barbecue Sauce 113 at Vegas. Like to do his team owner Randy Cornwell proud and put some of that sponsorship money where his mouth is. But Mason Wagaman holding the beast at bay right now as Chris Baines starts to drive away. If they want anything to do with Chris Baines, they're going to have to work together and try not to pass each other for too long. There's not still a little bit left in the race. Mason Wagaman pulls up to the back of Chris Baines. Chris Baines heavily favoring that inside line. Mason Wagaman tucking his nose outside, trying to get some extra grip from the downforce of the air going around his truck. Jumps on the inside, up to Chris Baines. He's at his corner panel. They touch. Chris Baines able to keep it together as they go into the corner. Mason Wagaman as well, keeping it down low. Drayton Cook taking advantage of the outside line when Mason Wagaman closes the door. Dustin Coggin now challenging Mason Wagaman for second. Dustin Coggin now racing for third against Drayton Cook. Still side by side going into turn one. Mason Wagaman starting to break away and catch up to Chris Baines. These guys have been so equally matched throughout the chase. Chris Baines coming out on top in a couple. Mason Wagaman or Timothy Abro coming on top. Mason Wagaman putting the bumper again to Chris Baines. Oh, he turns him. Mason Wagaman turns Chris Baines into the wall. Oh, Chris Baines is going to have something to say about that. I don't know if I would call that rough driving. That was pretty... It looked cut and dry, but who knows? Let's see if we can get a different angle here. The incident. Ooh. That does not look too good. Backing it up just a little bit. Mason Wagaman, I don't know. It looks like Mason Wagaman held his line. And Chris Baines came up just a little bit, but I'm sure that Chris Baines does not see it that way. When you're in the car, you can't see that as well as where people are at. Mason Wagaman being super aggressive. Let's see if we can get a chopper view. It looks to me as though Mason Wagaman was holding his line and Chris Baines came up. But they were getting super aggressive going through that. Yeah, just nowhere to go. Unfortunate for Chris Baines, 2 weeks in a row. Not a great history between him and Mason Wagaman. Mason Wagaman with an EOL for that. That hands the lead over to Drayton Cook, his teammate. It's still got to be frustrating for Chris Baines seeing all these Cornwell barbecue trucks, not knowing who he's gonna hit. Drayton Cook, excellent job of hanging in there, being able to capitalize on this caution. Dustin Coggin on the outside. The 20 of Dalton Wilson and Bobby Bender. Top 4. Tim Abrams waiting in the wings in 5th. Chris Baines in the pit for repairs, as well as Joseph Hebert. Drayton Cook doing an excellent job. That number 95 Cornwell barbecue truck. And we are going back live racing.
Green, green,
See if that
green.
inside line takes off again. Yep. Drayton Cook gets a huge jump. Followed by Dalton Wilson and Timothy Abrams on the inside line. Dustin Coggin trying to hang tough on the outside. Here's the Cornwell Barbecue Sauce 113, and his cars are running first and second. Randy Cornwell even brought himself to the party. Drayton Cook, Dalton Wilson, Timothy Abrams, Randy Cornwell, all same team. Dustin Coggin hanging tight on the outside, trying to fight this storm coming at him. Man, he's gonna have nightmares about barbecue sauce if he doesn't win this. Nicholas Anderson and Jeremiah Grau crash. Ooh. Jeremiah Grau not happy with Anderson's driving. See what happened. Oh, just comes up and walls him. See if we can get a different angle on that. Jeremiah Grau racing, and Nick just comes up and walls him. I wonder if there's any past history with that. And Jeremiah Grau is going to chase him down and let him know he is not happy about that. Puts him on the inside wall. Yeah, they definitely were not having fun racing each other. Jeremiah Grau takes a tow back to pit road. Not the day Jeremiah Grau had in mind, but definitely the day that Drayton Cook had dreamed of. Running in the lead, catching up to the pace car. Let's see if he can keep it together. I'm trying to make it to the end of this race. Drayton Cook will stay out, as well as Dustin Coggin, Dalton Wilson. Will there be any takers? Does not look so. Here on lap 90 of 150. Guys warming up their tires. Getting ready for this restart. Caution lights still on the car. And we have a lap. So let's see if we can bring anybody to the booth. Maybe talk to our leader.
Green flag, green flag.
Oh. I guess I cannot do that. Here we come to the green. Drayden Cook on the inside. See if he gets that jump again. Yep, another huge jump. And there is a lot of red and black behind him. All of his teammates, or associate sponsor teammates. And Dustin Coggin was able to hang tight on the outside last time. Let's see if he can do it this time. Drayden Cook taking it into turn one. Noah Walters hot on his heels. Where did he come from? Noah Walters on the inside with Randy Cornwell, who we haven't heard a lot of this race, coming for the lead. Ooh, Drayden Cook let Noah Walters know he did not like that. Got him a little sideways on the backstretch with Randy Cornwell running second. We have a new leader, Noah Walters, out of nowhere, takes the lead. Cornwell not liking it. Cornwell hot on the heels of Noah Walters. Shaking up the top three. Seeing these two guys up here. Randy Cornwell desperately needing the points to stay in the chase.
The yellow flag is out.
But Noah Walters keeping him at bay. They are a 2-car breakaway from the rest of this pack. Running fourth, Tim Albrow. Staying in contention for this win, but he's got to get up there. Falling back, Dustin Coggin. He hung tough for a couple of laps, but lap after lap just seems to be dropping back. I'm wondering if he kind of burnt up his tires a little bit. Behind them, Joseph Haber. Oh, hits the wall. Goes through the infield. Spins. Comes back up the track and slams the outside wall. That wall has taken a few hits tonight. And that will bring out a caution. And up, Drayton Cook still doing good, still running third. But man, it's got to be harrowing for Noah Walters to have that whole Cornwell team right behind him. TI Racing team. Noah Walters, then Randy Cornwell, Drayton Cook, Timothy Abro, Dalton Wilson, and Mason Wagaman, all teammates right behind him. Let's see if he can really keep his medal together. Come to the next stretch. All of them killing it in this series this year. Going back to the All-Star race, Timothy Abrell has always been a threat to the lead. As well as Randy Cornwell. And even with that damage, running second. Super impressive run today. Especially as the title sponsor of this race. You know, Cornwell Barbecue Sauce is going to be super happy with the books. They're coming to 1 to green. Noah Walters waiting on this pace car to come off. See nothing but red and black behind him. Now if they can work together, they can definitely get past him, and then they can have at each other. But until then, will they work together, or will they all try to pass each other?
Green flag, green flag.
Are we teammates, or are we fighting it out? Noah Walters gets a big jump on Drayton Cook. Drayton Cook goes on the inside of Randy Cornwell. Behind Randy Cornwell, Timothy Abrell tries to push his team owner forward and drops down. Drayton Cook with some connectivity issues. Hopefully that doesn't plague him as he's going for the lead. Noah Walters trying to keep them all at bay. Too wide between Mason Wagaman and Dalton Wilson. And Drayton Cook wants this win. He made it to the front on his own, and he wants to stay there on his own. He wants to be the only one to call himself first in this Cornwell Barbecue. 113. Randy Cornwell hangs it all the way out on the top side. Gets past Drayton Cook. And that is the win. Noah Walters holds off Randy Cornwell and his crew for the win at the Cornwell 113. Great job to Noah Walters. So let's see if we can do this. Noah Walters doing his burnouts. Burn it down, brother. Well, Noah Walters burning it down. That will be the end of our race. I would like to thank everybody who watched and everybody who is at home supporting these drivers. I'd also like to thank Randy Cornwell for sponsoring this race. As Timothy Presley comes up to his partner. You burn it down, guys. You earned it. I would love to do post-race interviews, but we're having technical difficulties on my end, so I apologize to both the drivers and the viewers. We will try to catch up in next week and get everybody's thoughts. But thank you for tuning in to Fearless Motorsports, to the Cornwell Barbecue Sauce 113. Congratulations to Noah